Because you listen to this outstanding podcast, I'd like to invite you to check out another one that you may like as well. I'm Tom Rowland, host of Saltwater Experience television show and the Tom Rowland podcast. Each week, I drop 3 brand new shows, including interviews with extreme performers like the true giants of the fishing world, authors, athletes, Navy SEALs, and regular people with extraordinary stories to learn what took them to the top and how we can apply those same principles to our lives. How-to episodes are on Tuesday, and tune in for Physical Fridays to make sure you're on the path to catch a tarpon when you're 95 years old or be at your very best tomorrow. So search for the Tom Rowland Podcast where you listen, or go to tomrowlandpodcast.com and come on over.
Just get a dumb one. There's a dumb one.
Yo.
There he is.
There he is.
Oh, dude, that's a nice fish.
That's a nice fish.
Welcome back, folks. This is number 50. Crazy. Thank you for tuning into the Amaazen Outdoors podcast. I am Bryan Mays. We are back for episode 50. We have Beaver's Baits on the show today. It's going to be a killer one. All right, folks, in lieu of our 50th episode, I'm going to spare you the show notes today, and we're just going to boogie. Let's get down and on with the show.
Getting down at the disco.
Outdoors podcast. Bryan, I didn't even ask you how to pronounce your last name because I'm horrible at these last names. So why don't you give the listeners a little bit of an introduction?
My name is Bryan Boyum.
Boyum, okay. I was gonna. That's what I was gonna kind of muddle out.
It's basically pronounced exactly the way it's spelled.
Yeah.
Boyum.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Some of them aren't.
Right. Yep.
Mine is Vander Maazen. Officially, and that's why I kind of truncated it when I started the podcast and went with Maze.
Sure.
A lot easier to spell and for people to hear. So anyways, Bryan, you're the owner and I guess inventor, founder of Beaver's Baits.
Yes. Yep.
And it's, for me, it's when I kind of jumped back into social media last year and started guiding people for musky fishing, this bait was on the top of my list to kind of figure things out. And then I get through and throws in my guide season. And I don't know, you know how it is. Sun up, sun down some days.
Right.
Don't have time to make it to the bait shop, let alone fire up the computer and order a few things online. So we ran across, I came out to the Muskie Expo here in the Twin Cities and got a chance to talk to you. So thank you very much for inviting me over to your shop here and
not a problem.
Sitting down and doing this today and doing a little bit of shop talk about one of the things that drives me pretty crazy in the summer.
Muskies, yeah.
Yeah.
Drives everybody crazy.
Yeah. So when did you get your first muskie?
I was about in, I want to say 1990, 91.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when...
late onset muskie fishing or?
Well, I had a friend.
You'll watch those wires there, man.
They're
going to, you're good there. Yeah.
I had a friend where I lived that was a huge muskie fisherman. He moves from Wisconsin to Minnesota.
Sure.
And he kind of took me under his wing and started teaching me. And they didn't come easy, believe me. My first one was a 36. And at that time in the state of Minnesota, 36 was a legal fish.
Okay.
You know, they didn't raise the links on it until many years later.
Sure.
So, but yeah, he got me into it.
And I'm totally oblivious to kind of the muskie scene in Minnesota.
Sure.
I know a little bit just because I've lived over here now across the river for about, I hate to admit, I think it's been 12 years, but I'm a Wisconsin boy through and through. Right. So you ask about, you know, the Cal Johnson and the Louis Spray folklore and the tit for tat and who's got the record over in Wisconsin. And I can give you a little info, but I would have never guessed that it was in the 90s, that it was still 36 was legal. I guess it would have been about in the early 90s. I caught my first muskie. I was 9 years old.
Sure.
And my old man, we had a little 16-foot boat that we had up in Three Lakes, Wisconsin at a buddy's place. And I think I threw the thing 8 or 9 times. I just remember my old man going, 9 years old, 9th cast. He catches damn muskie, you know. And that, I ate the damn thing. I remember eating it. You know,
oh yeah, a lot of people killed him.
My old man, he wasn't a muskie fisherman.
Right.
Yeah, it was a very unique flavor for what I remember as a kid. But the whole paradigm kind of shifted here in early, I guess, 2000s, late 90s, 2000s.
Yeah, it kind of went the other way. It's all catch and release, and you know, now we are where we are today.
Oh yeah, and
it's a good thing.
Fishery.
You know, some of the old timers, if they caught it, they're eating it.
Yep.
Period. I mean, it fed their family.
Oh, and a big fish like that,
right,
feeds a hell of a lot better than a couple of walleyes.
Right. Yeah, that's a lot of meals.
Oh yeah. So yeah, so in the 90s, and how did you kind of progress as a muskie fisherman after that?
Well, I kept fishing with him.
Full on, not?
Yeah, you know, it's just like everybody else. You get your first one or your first follow, and you're absolutely addicted to it.
Oh yeah.
And then I started looking at the baits that he had. He had a lot of old baits that, you know, you really can't get them anymore.
Sure.
Because they're so old.
Yeah.
And I started looking at them, and I was fiddling around. I was starting to tie my own bucktails and whittle out like a crankbait or something. Yeah. I'd make the lip. I'd whittle it all out and paint it. And, you know, that's kind of how I got started in dabbling in the muskie tackle part of it.
So when a lot of it was that way. I mean,
you almost had to.
Even,
you know,
like I said, you know, that late 90s, early 2000s when catch and release kind of came on board was kind of the same time there was a decent revelation, I guess you could say, in the amount of tackle companies in the muskie world.
Right. There wasn't a whole lot on
before
the market.
that. It was a handmade suet.
Right.
You know, I mean, that was very common.
Yeah, for sure.
So you started dabbling in these wood baits with some bucktails and things like that. And, you know, we were talking beforehand, I tie a lot of flies, and I don't necessarily tie all these big fancy ones some of these guys tie.
Right.
I prefer, you know, something that's a little bit more economical for me. I fish primarily in the rivers, and, you know, you don't need typically a very common statement, but you don't need a 14-inch fly in the river.
Right.
Yeah. And my clients who are muskie fly fishermen, most of them are pretty early on in their path down that.
Okay.
They've never owned a 10 weight or a 12 weight rod.
Sure.
And they've never casted anything bigger than, you know, a 3-inch fly before. Right. So when you throw on an 8-inch fly, it's hard enough, let alone throw on a 12-inch fly. So it's just kind of where I'm at personally, but there's so many different personal preferences in this gig. And obviously, you know, you by looking at the table here with a couple different sizes of baits and some progression you were sharing with me beforehand, you guys tie offer a variety of different sizes of baits and different styles now.
Correct. Yeah.
But this all started somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're telling me I'm going to like this story.
Yeah.
And I told you to hold on to it because I didn't want to hear it beforehand. So let's hear this.
It's kind
revelation on how
unique story.
Yeah.
When I left northern Minnesota, I moved down here to the north of the Twin Cities in Minnesota. And I would still go up there a lot to fish where I used to fish.
Sure.
And I had a friend up there that he called me up and he said, "Can you come up and make a river trip?" I said, "Sure, I'll come up." I had no clue that he was going to do this. So we're on the river, we're fishing. He takes off his bait, he reaches in a cooler, and he pulls out a dead squirrel. He had already had it rigged up so that he could hook his leader to a ring that he had on the nose of the squirrel.
Sure.
And off his leader, he had another leader that come down to a treble hook, and he could stab it in the guts.
Sure. Yeah, so like kind of like a quick set rig for...
Correct.
Yeah.
A quick set rig for a dead squirrel, basically. He started throwing this thing, and it looked unbelievable in the water.
Really?
It swam. He made it swim, just
Sure.
swimming through the water. Perfect. Well, within an hour, he had a 42 and a 43 in the boat. And this squirrel was completely ripped to shreds. And,
Sure. Yeah, I was going to ask you, did he have a second squirrel for the second fish?
No, I think he only had the one. If I remember correctly, he only had the one.
Okay.
But, I didn't think about it at the time. It took me a day or two to get home, and I started thinking about this, and I'm like, you know what? This is no fluke. We weren't catching fish on anything else. As soon as he put that squirrel on, boom, 2 fish came.
Mm-hmm.
Within a half an hour, he had
Sure.
he had 2 fish in the boat.
Yeah.
Well,
Do you pay attention to the majors or minors or
no,
not at that
no,
time?
where we fish, the majors and minors, it doesn't affect
matter.
it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I got to thinking about it, and over the years, we would catch like walleye or large pike on these rivers, and of course, we would eat them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you're cleaning them, you find out what they're eating.
Sure.
Well, I've cleaned quite a few pretty good sized pike that would have squirrels in their belly.
Really?
Well,
I mean, it makes sense.
you start looking at it and you go, you know what? Anything that touches that water is fair game.
Oh, yeah. I mean, people throw duck lures today. I mean,
correct. So
think about, I can't remember what the top, there's top water bait that's got 2 metal flops on it. And
right.
It doesn't resemble anything that would be natural.
Right.
Where a squirrel is about as natural as it gets.
Yep. So, with that knowledge or that thinking that way, it's like, it's not a fluke. They're eating, baby duck, baby muskrat, probably full grown muskrat,
Mm-hmm.
squirrels, anything that swims across them rivers, it's fair game.
Oh, yeah.
They're getting eaten. So you start thinking about that. Okay, how do you make a dead animal artificial?
Mm-hmm.
And I got to thinking about it, and I'm like, you know what? I got it. I just figured it out. So I went to work, and I turned out the pieces on a lathe, and I hand tied them all up and created basically the very first ever baby beaver. And I took it back up and fished it a couple times. The second time, the conditions were really bad. So I came home. We never did catch nothing on it. We came home and I hung it on the shelf. And it hung there for 5 years.
Oh, really?
Yep. Never touched it. Never looked at it. Never thought anything more of it. It just hung there for 5 years. So my stepson, he kept hounding me. Can I get the bait? Can I get the bait? Over and over. And I'm like, fine, just take it. Just take the damn thing and go fishing with it. I don't care. Well, he ends up sticking a 49 on it. And he called me up and he said, the way that fish reacted to that bait, you may want to revisit this. So I made 4 more prototypes. I had them ready for when the time period from when I go up there. And I put the first one on, and the guy that was with me is actually my business partner right now, Ted Beck.
Yeah, Ted's a nice guy. I spent some time talking
great
to
guy,
him at
yep.
the show.
he was with me, and we pushed the boat out from where we launched it, and I haven't even started the motor yet. And the boat drifted across to the other side of the river, and Ted was tying his shoes. I was waiting on Ted. So I'm like, well, I'm going to try one of these and just see what they look like in the water. Fourth cast, 53.5.
Oh.
Yep.
That's a big fish.
So then we proceeded. After that, I stuck 2 49s and 2 48s in the same weekend.
So, I mean,
So that's 5
5
trophy
damn near
fish,
50-inch fish.
on this bait. And where we go, we camp. It's very remote, so we camp right on the river.
Nice.
And we were sitting around the fire that night, and Ted turned and looked at me, and he says, you know, dude, you got to do something with this. This is just, I've never seen anything like this in my life. This is just too good. So then, you know, okay, how do you start something?
Yeah,
You
well,
know what I mean? Yeah. How do you make this happen?
yeah, I know. I've been through it now twice with my wife and I, you know, just starting companies in this past year. There's no manual.
No,
Yeah, it's
no. You just got to think about it and hopefully make the right moves.
it's all about making calculated decisions.
Yeah.
But when you don't know anything, there's a lot of stuff you can waste your time on.
Exactly.
And resources. And everybody knows those are getting tighter every day.
Right.
So yeah, it's starting a business. I give everybody 2 props because you figured something out that a lot of other people haven't been able to figure out, let alone have a good product.
Right. So one of the first steps was, since it's so unique, I thought, you know what? It's really hard to patent anything in the fishing industry because everything's been done. So I said, you know what? I'm going to try and get this thing patented.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yes, it's patented.
Oh,
So I went through the steps,
that's awesome.
and
That's awesome that you were able to get one because, oh, look at that.
so there it is.
That is awesome. Wow. I've never actually seen one of these. I've seen them electronically, but I've never seen this stamp.
You never
No,
handled one, huh?
that's awesome.
Yeah. So during the process, we did one show.
And I'm trying to read it here, but maybe you could just inform the listeners exactly, you know, because you have to have something unique, like you said.
Correct.
Everything was patented or has been done.
There was a lot of, I couldn't get a utility patent on it.
Okay.
There's 2 different types of patents. There's a utility patent and a design patent.
Yes.
Well, I ended up getting a design patent because it's a little harder to get a utility patent because they look at every aspect of it. The design is the design of what you're patenting.
Mm-hmm.
So when they researched it, they found a couple pieces in Australia that were patented that were really similar to mine. So I couldn't do a design patent on it.
Sure.
All right, I'm sorry. I couldn't do a utility patent on it. Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. But even regardless of that, I mean, you know, I'm in the fly fishing space and everybody and their brother knocks off something.
Oh, right.
I mean, and they tie it themselves on a vise at home, you know?
Yep.
So again, it's hard to even dream about being able to get a design patent, let alone.
It was. I mean, I worried about it because you sink all this money into it and it goes off to the government. Now your hands are tied until the government decides, yes, we're going to grant this.
Yeah, nobody likes that position.
No. So in the meantime, I did one show. And since my paperwork was submitted to the government, I talked to the patent attorney and he said, well, as long as it's submitted, now you can legally put a sign up saying patent pending.
Yep.
So I did that at the first show.
There's a paper trail at least.
Right,
you know,
right.
You've got a point of defense against anybody who would infringe on that.
So then we came home from that show, and it wasn't too long after that, I got a call from the patent attorney, and he says, you got it. Wow. It went through.
Nice.
So that was a good feeling.
Oh, yeah.
Because you invest all that money into it, not knowing. You have no clue if you're even going to get it.
It's not cheap.
No.
I mean, there's I don't know. I've never done it, but I've looked at doing it for a few things, and the attorney fees alone are, if you, and you need an attorney to do it because
right.
They understand that gobbledygook writing.
Yeah, that's the biggest expense is the attorney.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they make a lot of money.
Oh yeah. Way too much in some circumstances.
Exactly.
But my old man always told me, he goes, there's one thing you don't skimp out on. There are a few things in life, but one of those was attorneys.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So from now, there's a little bit of misconception, I guess you could say, out in the public, because I made the mistake myself when I came in here. Maybe you want to clear that up for everybody and the listeners, exactly the how you got your name and what it actually is, and it's not beaver baits, like I said.
Right. Yeah. I can see where people get confused. It's because I named the company and the bait after me. My nickname has been Beaver my whole life, ever since I can ever remember.
How'd you get the name? Just if you want to share.
I can, yeah. I don't know the whole story behind it, but what I think happened is my dad trapped basically his whole life.
Okay.
I did a lot of trapping when I was young.
Sure.
But when I was really young, I can just barely remember him taking us, my brother and I, trapping with him.
Sure.
Well, I think the way the story goes is I would get tired from walking and he'd throw me in his pack sack.
Oh, sure.
And someone asked him, well, doesn't he get heavy? He said, no, it's like carrying a little beaver. So
pretty easy to get the nickname Beaver at
right,
that point.
Right. You got to pack the beaver out of the woods. So,
yep.
That from then on, everyone, all my relatives called me Beaver.
Sure.
I've been Beaver my whole life. So I basically named the bait when I developed it, and a few guys seen it. They're like, well, what are you going to call this thing? I said, that's easy. Baby Beaver. I'm naming it after myself. So then I named the company after myself. Well, a lot of people think it's Beaver Baits because of the beaver, the bait itself.
Yeah.
But it's really not. It's Beaver's Baits.
Yeah. You corrected me.
And that's fine.
Well, and
it happened so many times that I
appreciate it, because this is a more formal setting where I would like to get it right,
Right, yeah, sure.
And it gives you an opportunity to, tell people about how you name the company and stuff too.
Right.
Because they can't see these, bucktail prototypes out in front of us right now. So,
right. Yeah. But I should have put a little more thought into that when I did it all, but it is what it is. It's too late now.
Well, I think I said it in my first podcast, and it was kind of, I was, you pick a name and you got all this stuff. There's all this prep work. You got patent going. At what point do you not hit the damn go button? And worry about the rest. You just got to move forward.
Yep.
And it's sometimes, the name, it can mean a lot and it can mean a little. You're lucky enough that you have a patented design on a product here that isn't really out there in the market space like this. So
no, there's nothing really.
I don't think your name really matters that much at this point.
Yeah.
Because I think the thing speaks for itself.
Yeah, there's been a lot of really big fish caught on it, and it's pretty incredible hearing from people, that catch these monster fish on something that you build. It's pretty cool. Are
you seeing folks fish with these things all the way across the country?
Yeah, we're shipping.
I could see some utility for this in saltwater potentially too.
I wish that would pick up. That's kind of a tough gig to get into,
especially at your price point.
That and I don't know.
Look at
it might be too big.
Yeah, it depends on the application. You know, I could definitely. The one problem, like where I could see this thing working really well for, is barracuda. And kind of do it like amberjack as well, or some of these reef fish where you can cast for them. But a problem like a barracuda, you think a muskie's teeth are bad.
Oh,
wait till they rip that thing up.
Yep.
But at the same token, there's cuda tubes out there. I don't know if you've ever gone down and fished in Florida, but they're just a piece of
don't know what it is, basically flex tubing with a wire down the middle of a couple treble hooks hanging on. And they're 12 to 24 inches long. But you catch 2 or 3 fish, man, and they're junk. And they get like 10, 12 bucks for them. So
Sure.
there's a diet, there's something there, but you're up here in Minnesota and you're not too worried too much about salt water, I imagine, at this point.
It would be nice, but we're growing an awful lot in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And you go through major growing pains, and one of them is just building enough product
Yeah.
to get out there.
Absolutely.
You created this demand, and now you can't, fulfill it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tough.
Yeah. I've been in business long enough in my professional career to see a fair amount of different flavors of stages of business and how people handle it. And controlled growth is nice. Uncontrolled growth is not nice, because it just leads to supply chain issues. And especially in today's world, it's very hard to have those things and grow a business, especially at your size. You get, a bait company, how big's your available market? At that point, you got to service it when it's there.
Yeah.
So it's tough. How's last year and this year kind of with the COVID thing going for you guys? Have you seen any major changes because of that, you think?
Yeah. I kind of look at COVID. It actually did us a favor.
I think it did a lot of outdoor companies.
Yes. More people hit the water. They just wanted to get out. And
they couldn't go to the store, or maybe didn't want to. So if you were doing a direct marketing approach to your customer base, it gave you a huge opportunity.
Yep. Our sales went up. There was more people buying them, but that could be just word of mouth that people are catching fish on them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what contributed to it, but who knows?
Yeah. Well,
whether it was COVID or I don't know.
Yeah. Obviously good. You've seen growth.
Exactly. And a lot of growth. Yeah.
So we should probably give the listeners a little break. I know I could take a quick break, and then we'll come back and chat a little bit more about company and kind of some of the baits and where you guys are at today.
Because you listen to this outstanding podcast, I'd like to invite you to check out another one that you may like as well. I'm Tom Rowland, host of Saltwater Experience television show and the Tom Rowland podcast. Each week, I drop 3 brand new shows, including interviews with extreme performers like the true giants of the fishing world, authors, athletes, Navy SEALs, and regular people with extraordinary stories to learn what took them to the top and how we can apply those same principles to our lives. How-to episodes are on Tuesday, and tune in for Physical Fridays to make sure you're on the path to catch a tarpon when you're 95 years old or be at your very best tomorrow. So search for the Tom Rowland Podcast where you listen, or go to tomrowlandpodcast.com and come on over.
All right. Let's talk about these things on the table here and kind of the progression from, the one that whacked the 53 for the stepson, right?
Yeah, the 49.
49.
Yep.
And then you caught the 53.
On this one, yeah.
Oh, that's the one.
Yeah.
So that's a slightly smaller bait, actually significantly
smaller.
It
was, I didn't, he had this one.
Yeah.
So I had nothing to copy, so I only had literally days to get these done.
Sure.
So I just whipped
something.
Oh, I mean,
that's how quick he caught that, and then you guys were heading up north.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
so,
it happened really fast.
So you've got, just for the listener's description here, you've got probably a 12, 11-inch bait?
That one's probably, it's probably close to 14, 15 with
Is
the
it
tail.
really?
Yeah.
I suppose, yeah. With the tail there. And then this one's 8?
Yeah, the tail's not on it.
Tail's not on it. So with the tail, and this is
probably about 12.
This is the baby beaver.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how big is that bait?
12 inches.
It's 12 inches.
Yep.
Okay. And then what else do you have? You've got a couple different flavors.
Yeah. When we broke them out, we did a 12-inch version and we did a 15-inch version.
Okay.
The 15-inch version we call the XL.
Okay.
The 12-inch version, we just stuck with the original name. We call that the baby.
Yeah.
And people kind of got used to it. And
sure.
They, when they say, hey, I'd like a baby. Well, I know what size they want.
Yep.
You know. And then after a few years, we scaled it down and we made a 9-inch version.
Okay.
We call that the mini.
Okay.
And then once they started getting a little popular and the lake guys got a hold of them, the XL wasn't heavy enough for them.
Really?
So
I suppose, I mean, they have some pretty damn big rods.
Right.
And they probably wanted to get down deeper.
Right. They wanted to fish it deeper.
Oh, yeah, that's the big deal.
The XL has a insert in the head that you can screw in a weight.
Oh, really?
Well, the biggest weight that I offered was 1.5 ounces. And they wanted it even heavier than that. So what I did is I started talking to my mold guy, and I'm like, okay, what is it going to take to actually mold as much lead as we can pack into that head in our mold? And it ended up being 3 ounces.
Okay.
So that we call that the Lake Edition.
Okay.
It's the exact bait, but it's a heavier version.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So how much does the baby?
The baby is 4 ounces.
Okay, and then the mini weighs
2 ounces. Yeah.
And then
the XL is 7, and then the Lake Edition is 9.
9.
Yep.
Wow, that's a heavy bait.
Yep.
I don't know I just don't play with them that much. So like the big Muskie Innovation, those big dogs, they're
pound and a half, 2 pounds.
Yeah.
They make a 2 pounder.
Yeah. Guys think I'm nuts because I cast a fly rod all day long. I think they're nuts because they're throwing 2 pounds of freaking, junk in the air.
Yeah.
But no, regardless of that, I think that helps the listeners to kind of understand what size they are if they haven't seen your stuff on Instagram, because that's where I caught it. And I think too that to describe to the listeners the motion this bait makes, because it's a diving motion, and you work it, I would say more like a guy would maybe work a suet a little bit with the jerking motion. Do you guys work it just straight in?
There's many different ways I work it.
Yeah.
I got 2 that are kind of favorite ways. If you're in, like, we call it skinny water, if you're on a shallow river or something, you're going to want to work it. You want to keep it up in that 1 foot range from the surface down. You're going to want to work it faster to keep it there. Mm-hmm. And all we do is we move our rod tip like really fast with a steady reel retrieve.
Sure.
So you're basically just hopping it along, bringing it to life, and it's just doing its thing. And you can do a long pull pause. And when you do that, the bait will rise, and then when you pause it, it's fallen.
Yep.
And after a few seconds, you jerk it again, and it rises, and then it falls. They do that a lot in the lakes. They'll fish them that way, the long pull pause.
Okay. But
there's really, everyone's kind of figuring out that there's really no right or wrong way of fishing this bait.
You just kind of freestyle.
You can do whatever you want with it.
Yeah, and I was just kind of curious, when you first started it, what was kind of that motion that you were kind of looking for? Just
that swimming motion.
Yep.
And being jointed twice.
Yep.
Plus a tail that's jointed.
Yep.
It's just basically a hook. When you...
I'm not sure what that was.
I don't hear myself anymore. Oh, there it is.
Okay.
Okay, we're good.
Well, yeah, there was just a little click in the headphones.
Yeah, that was weird. So when you're working it, you're the one that's bringing it to life, to giving it that action.
Yeah, and I think, being a fly fisherman, or anybody who's fly fisherman, can really understand that. Or I'm trying to compare it to, a motion you might do for some bass fishing, where you're working maybe.
Well, it's the same thing. If you want to compare it to the fly world, you guys call every rip.
Yeah,
right?
strip. Yeah,
strip.
Yeah,
right. Well, when you strip, you're actually moving that bait.
Yep.
And then when you're not stripping,
it moves.
It's pausing, it's dropping, or off to the side, whatever that bait is designed to do.
That's what you guys are replicating.
Correct. And we're doing that with
awesome.
We're doing that with our conventional rods,
mm-hmm.
Big tackle. we're doing basically the same thing a fly fisherman would do with their fly rod.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we're doing it with heavier rods, heavier reels.
And lots, typically a few more hooks.
Yeah, more hooks.
So do you make it, and I'm trying, are all of these double trebled? Is that how
Yes.
all of them are designed today?
Yep.
Is double
One
trebled?
hook in the front and one in the
tail.
The tail is actually, the rubber tail is actually molded right onto the hook.
Okay.
The guy that did my molds, he had to figure out, okay, how do you get a treble hook in 2 blocks of aluminum?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's to shoot soft plastic around it.
Yep.
It isn't hard, but you know, it can be done.
Yeah. It's still it's a challenge. It's not,
Right.
it's not standard,
Right.
which most of these guys want standard stuff.
Yep. But we were able to figure it out, and we got it, and you know, I've been pretty happy with the outcome of it.
Yeah. It really blew me away when I saw it last year, and I was, unfortunately, you know, they keep telling me, people in the industry, that every good fishing guide, you know, behind him is a wife with a health insurance policy. And so my budget was pretty tight, and I put a lot of money down in fly fishing stuff last year to just kind of expand. But I'm going to be buying a few of these before I hit the season this year, because it's just something that is absolutely completely different. You know, I kind of look at, you know, like the Whopper Plopper or a Top Raider. Those came along and kind of changed a few things in comparison to, you know, an old torpedo bait.
Right.
And,
Exactly.
And this thing is kind of pushing that envelope of innovation. And for me, as a kind of a cross angler who does both, it kind of, this is the first thing I've seen somebody do that mimics a fly, really, truly.
It's close. I mean,
Well, and I mean,
I've
as
seen a
close
lot of
as you
flies
can
in the
get
water. It's close. Yeah, about as close as you're going to get.
with conventional gear, because
Yep.
it's just a totally different ball game. My line suspends, and
Right.
the fly has, you know, we're talking about probably gram weight instead of ounces.
Ounces, yeah. Correct.
Yeah. So it's a totally different animal, but the way the bait works and how you guys work it's just so close to some of the stuff that I have. And I've got other stuff that doesn't look like this either, but
Sure.
it's a really cool motion.
We did find out over the years of fishing this bait, about the only thing that I can figure out about it, and what I realized right away, is when the fish hit this, they hit it with a vengeance. I mean, they have to flat out kill it. And the only thing I've thought of that for many years now, and it's like, well, what if when they were younger, they went after a squirrel or a muskrat, and maybe they got bit or whatever? Well, that kind of ingrains in them that when they attack something like that, they have to flat out kill it.
Mm-hmm.
So when the fish hit this thing, they typically headhunt it.
Oh, really?
They just pound the head.
Yeah, they kind of try to come in and T-bone it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what happened was on the XL, some of the guides on lakes in northern Minnesota, they figured out that the fish were headhunting it so bad that like half the head and half the leader would be in the fish's mouth. The hooks would be right out on the side of it. So what they're doing is they're starting to hang a hook off the front,
Sure.
a third treble hook.
Yeah.
So when the fish does headhunt that, they can hook the fish.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I see it a little bit in the fly realm. I mean, the T-bone, it's pretty classic, and especially in the rivers where I fish. But to go after the head is not something that
that's what gets me thinking. It's like, what is going through these fish's minds?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very unique characteristic.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. I wonder how, well, and we're not out there. I mean, I don't care who you are, how much time you spend out there. Most of us aren't out there at night, and you can't see all that well at night. And have you ever really fished these things at night at all? I'm just kind of curious.
A little bit. I know some guys have been throwing them at night and doing well.
I've got to imagine like out on the Bay of Green Bay or something where you got some big open water that these things could do that.
That's Green Bay is a little different character.
It is, and I'm not. A lot of those guys troll and all that stuff out there, but they do come into the river in Green Bay. They do hang around there, and I could see, just ducks and other animals that hang out just being close to the city and stuff like that. You got coots and all of close to the shore, whatever it is. This thing just kind of mimics anything that might swim in the water or have a hard time swimming in the water.
Yep.
And I'm very excited because I have a couple places that I really think these things are going to work quite nice. So with your growth and things like that, where are your primary sales channels today? And can people? I haven't really seen these things out in normal retail.
They're out there.
Does Fleet Farm have them? Or
no,
yeah.
I'm not in any big box.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
No, it's more
small bait shops.
Muskie Shop.
Yep.
In Wisconsin. Team Rhino.
Okay.
Muskie Tackle Online. MTO.
Yep.
Thorn Brothers.
Yep.
I got a few.
Yeah, some local bait shops that carry them, right? I think I saw them down in the Twin Cities at maybe Blue Ribbon.
Yeah, Blue Ribbon has them. I've got a few dealers in Canada that are carrying them.
Sure.
I mean, we're branching out.
Yeah.
When we did our website with the whole COVID thing and we're shutting down, all the shows got shut down.
Mm-hmm.
So when that hit, we were like, okay, what are we going to do? Well, website.
Yeah.
That's our only prayer. You start getting some retail because we only got retail like 3 times a year.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah,
you do 3 shows. That's the only 3 times you're getting retail.
Yep, and it's seasonal too. I mean,
right.
Your shows are in your winter, and
yep. So we broke open the website, and once I did that, I started getting customers from Australia, France, Italy, Spain. I mean, you name it. All them European countries, Switzerland.
Really?
Oh yeah, and they're all chasing big pike with them.
I suppose.
No different than our muskie.
Yep.
Same thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I would imagine up in northern Canada where they do a lot of that big pike fishing too. I imagine those guys would want something like this.
Oh, it'd be incredible up there.
But I mean, let alone, it's neat that global company you can call yourself, or at least a global sales reach.
we're really getting out there. Yeah, I've shipped to a lot of weird countries.
Are you seeing a faster growth overseas than in the United States, do you think?
No.
From an internet presence, I guess I could.
No, not really. No. It's a handful here and there.
Sure.
They're finding out more and more about my product overseas.
Yeah.
And they're reaching out to me wanting it. And
sure.
Right now with the whole COVID thing still basically going on, it's tough to ship over there and fulfill their order and get it to them and
sure.
all that. It takes forever,
especially if you're not, I mean, nobody wants to pay for air freight.
No.
And so you're putting on a boat and who knows what port it's going to sit in.
Right.
So we hooked up at the Muskie Innovation Show, or no, I'm sorry, the Twin Cities Muskie Expo.
Yeah, that's where we met. Yep.
Did you guys do any other shows this year? Or was that kind of your first kick back into the show?
No, the first show of the season is Chicago.
Yeah.
That's done in January.
So you did that whole Chicago, Milwaukee.
Yep, Chicago, Milwaukee, Minnesota.
Okay.
Our next one is in, we're going to leave here next Thursday.
Okay.
We're going to be going to Wausau, Wisconsin.
Oh, sure.
So we got.
Is that part of the same kind of circuit, or is that a different?
No, it's just. I mean,
it's I'm new to
people, but they just they put on a show.
Okay, yeah, it's just a separate muskie show. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yeah, I'm just kind of curious if somebody's coordinating all of them for the most part, or I'm asking more for myself.
No, there's the Chicago show and the Milwaukee show is ran by the same guy.
Okay.
The Minnesota show is ran by a different guy.
Guy.
The Wausau show is ran by a different guy.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So I'm
kind of getting enlightened to all of these outdoor sport shows being.
I I think if you look at it, you know, probably anybody could say, you know what, I'm going to have a show.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know, you could just go out and find a building and promote it and have a show.
Yeah,
But
it
it
it's a
all
lot.
takes
of
money.
work. Yeah,
Working money.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then
Right.
you got charge people and just
Right.
making that balance sheet end at their
Yeah.
balance and hopefully in the black at the end of that show is
Exactly. Yeah.
very challenging, especially in today's climate. You shared that the muskie show up here was down. And so you did Chicago and Milwaukee. Did you see down attendance there as well?
Yeah, it was probably anywhere between 30 and 40% down
Yeah.
in people that coming through the door.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's trade shows in general, you know, maybe not outdoor industry specific, but, they've been kind of a dying breed over the course of the last few decades. There's still a few good ones and there's some still good things that come out of them, but they used to be a dime a dozen all over the place. And
Right.
now they're getting condensed and there's so much information out there on the internet now that people don't necessarily have to go to a trade show. And then depending on where it is, if they're going there for a deal, like I was looking at going to Pheasant Fest this weekend. I'm like, I need a couple dog kennels. And I started looking at the deal and it's like, well, I'm going to pay $150 more in diesel to get there.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
I'm not going to make up anything for those deals when I could just drive down to Shields and pay, probably 20% more than I need to. But at
Right.
this point, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, I think a lot
So-
of people too, they look at if there's a manufacturer that doesn't do a show, they typically run a special on their website, like free shipping
Yep.
for that weekend. Well, you can sit on your couch and buy the stuff and get free shipping.
Yeah.
You know, and
but there's something to be said though. I mean, you got all
the shows are fun.
Yep.
You know, you meet all the people. I love doing the show just for the fact that I get to talk to a lot of people.
podcast came out of it.
Right. We met and yeah, you
But they're
asked me
tough.
to do this.
Kind of what my point is because of the declining nature of
Right.
of things.
Right. And they take a lot out of you. I don't think people realize
You had a hell of a booth, man. I mean, it's got to take a lot to put
how
that
much
together.
work we do to put them on.
That's crazy. I mean, it's
You
a
know?
really nice booth. I mean, yeah, I'm assuming you guys built it or
Yeah, the booth is very simple. We designed it simple because we knew we were going to be doing shows.
yeah.
And I didn't want to be the guy that's standing in there hanging every single bait on a peg.
Sure.
So our booth is designed, they're basically 3 suitcases that are on wheels.
Yeah.
We roll them in. They're all made out of wood. We roll them in, open them up, bolt them together, throw the lights on. We're done.
Yeah.
Our baits are already hung in. We hung all of our baits at home.
Sure.
So, yeah, we
But
took a lot of work
My
out of it.
point though is, I mean, you had a nice booth.
It-
So
it looks good,
It
yeah.
looks
It's-
good.
Yeah.
And it takes effort to make it look good, let alone man it and then transport it.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, they're 3-day shows.
And then you mix in bad weather.
Yeah.
You know, they're all in the winter. So you got icy roads. You got, you're traveling to Chicago. You don't know what you're going to run into.
No. Yeah. Or Milwaukee.
Or Milwaukee. Yep.
So what's on the plate for Beaver's baits this year? I guess we've been talking about too. Maybe this is a better question for you. You've got more than just this style of bait. You've got some that have blades on them. You've got a top water bait. Let's talk a little bit about that before we move on.
Okay. Well, let's cover the one with the blades first. What I did is I took the mini, which is tied in hair,
Mm-hmm.
and instead of doing, you were at the Minnesota Muskie Show.
Yep.
And you walked around.
Oh yeah.
You've seen all these blade baits.
Yep.
And they're all tinsel.
Yep.
Damn near every one of them.
It's hard to find a bucktail
Correct.
today.
So I started playing around with the mini. I'm like, okay, if we took the mini and we tied it in this flash, I call it flash, or we call it flash, and put blades in front of it, what is it going to look like? Well, it ended up being pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it actually worked really well. So we turned that into the blade bait that we built, and I kind of struggled a lot for a name on it. And in the industry, they call that type of bait a blade bait because there's either 1 or 2 blades on it.
Yep.
So they I don't know. A lot of people don't really call them bucktails anymore because they're not a bucktail. They're a blade bait.
Well, yeah, and they're all tied with Flashaboo.
Right. So I was actually on the river fishing and with a really good friend of mine, and we're motoring upstream, and I'm sitting there thinking, you know, damn, what can I call that thing? Blade bait. Beaver's baits, blade bait. 4 B's, quad B. So I named it Quad B.
Yeah, makes sense.
Makes sense,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
Half of it's just coming up with the name, right?
right, yeah. What are you going to call it? Well, I came up with a Quad B.
Yeah.
So
How's that bait taken off since your introduction with it?
it's not bad. It's not like we're selling, you know, thousands of them. It takes time.
Yeah.
It really does
Yeah.
take a lot of time. We learned
People got to catch fish on it. They
Right.
got to tell their buddy. I mean, that
Yeah.
word of mouth, that good
Yeah.
organic
It
growth
took-
that you want, it takes a long time.
it took even many years just to get the beaver popular,
Sure.
because a lot of people don't go on the internet. They don't watch YouTube. They don't go on nothing. You know, and them are hard people to target.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you get it in front of their face or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
But it took many years to actually get the beaver where it's at now, where a lot of people know about it.
Yeah, I kind of saw it on Instagram, and I've mostly been a fly fisherman, so
Right.
the off-puttingness nature of paying $30 to $40 for a bait that people are going to throw into a tree and I'm going to lose. You know, it just, I didn't wander down that aisle a whole lot.
Right.
You know, but now that I've kind of expanded things for me, this whole muskie realm was, I'll tell you my struggle, and you'll probably appreciate this, you know, is trying to go out and, you know, there's not a lot of options when you look at different styles of muskie baits. You've got suets, you've got big Rapala style kind of, you know, diver baits, I guess you could call them. You've got rubber, and then you've got bucktails or blade baits.
Yep.
That's kind of the realm of it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you got some glide baits now, which actually that was a big cool revelation for me last year. But your bait offers that kind of motion. Yeah. So when I saw this, I was like, this is just totally different, you know. And when I've got clients that, you know, are looking for a fish, and the fish that I'm seeing are mostly seeing bucktails and rubber,
Right.
you know,
Right.
to have something different in the bag is clutch. It's
Yep.
really clutch. Sounds like you don't carry around a whole lot more anymore, but just these. do you still carry around any your old school favorites, or do you primarily fish with these guys?
No, you kind of have to get away from that, because you want to be throwing and catching fish on what you're building right now.
Yep.
When we go on trips, we're constantly filming.
Yeah.
We're filming for the company.
Sure.
So you want to be presenting to your audience exactly what they can buy.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the old school baits have kind of gone away. They've left my tackle box.
Yeah. It makes absolute sense.
Right.
Man. I
You
mean,
almost have to do it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and if you're having success with this and you're obviously growing your company, I mean, why wouldn't you be?
Exactly.
Every time you hit the water is a opportunity for you to get some kind of content to help you promote your business.
Right.
You have to take advantage of those opportunities.
I can't even remember what it's like to just go fishing to just fish and not deal with cameras and, you know, get this shot, get that shot. You know, it's a lot of work.
It is. I've tried to dabble myself into that. I've carried around a GoPro now for the first time this last season for bird hunting, and
It's like you're babysitting it the whole time you're out there.
Or you're not getting the footage.
Right.
And I battled that. You know, I spent 2 weeks in Kansas bird hunting 2 different times, and the first trip I bored maybe 50% of the time. And of course, I bet you that other 50% of the time I shot a lot more birds.
Yeah.
And then the second trip, maybe 75% of the time. But I'll tell you that 25%, I shot way more birds than the 75%. So it's just, you have to get religious with it. And then at that point, it becomes a commitment and more of a chore than it is to
exactly. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah, it's just, I don't know what it's like anymore to just go fishing. You know? But you got to do it.
Having those memories though to pass on to kids, you know, that's one of the things that always, I guess, about this, the podcast, and bringing my camera along and forcing myself these days is not so much the business. I remind myself, you know, at some point when I'm gone, my kids, grandkids, they're going to get to see all this stuff and see all the cool things that I did. Maybe I'll inspire them to do it. You know, the footage is there, you know, whether or not it gets used professionally or not. It's kind of almost a legacy thing at this point.
All right.
Pretty cool. So you guys, you mostly fish Minnesota. You've never fished over in Wisconsin.
No.
Never
bought a license there.
So when does Muskie open on your kind of home water? When's your Muskie opener?
June.
It's June 4th, right?
Yeah, first weekend in June.
Okay. I don't know. I tried to read the damn regs, man, and it's like you need a damn attorney next to you to figure it out. Some of the season dates, especially when I'm kind of being a little facetious, but you go out west to some of these trout streams, or even down the southeast these days, things get kind of complicated, depending on what bridge you're going across. Yeah. So when you fish up north, are you fishing out of kind of like river boats? You guys do a lot of jet drive boats, or
small boats, real small boats, real small motors,
drift boats up there?
No, never done that. There's the kayaking scene is getting bigger.
Is it?
We're starting to see kayaks on it now.
Smallies, or are they chasing muskies in them?
Not particular in the river that I fish the most.
Yeah, no, we don't need to name anything, but I'm kind of talking general.
Right, there is a good smallie population.
Nice,
but we're seeing more and more muskie guys transitioning
kayaks
to the kayaks. Yes. In these remote areas, because
I have a drift boat and a raft that's 12 feet long. You don't have to tell me about it. But
either they don't want to go through the work that we go through.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it is less work with a kayak. You drag it down the shore and you throw it in the river and you hop in and go.
Yeah.
You know, where we are, you know, we're pulling our boat through the woods with a 4-wheeler and, you know, winching it out of the river when we're done. And, you know, it's a lot of work.
Yep.
Carrying motors and gas cans and all that crap around, you know, it's a lot of work.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Or on a kayak, I don't ever see myself. I would love to try it, but I just don't see myself musky fishing out of a kayak.
It's why I bought a drift boat, because I grew up canoeing, and then I got turned on to fly fishing. And the first time I went out, I had a muskie take a fly next to the canoe, and I freaked out and I almost tipped the damn canoe over. And this is in, you know, September. So imagine trying to do that in October. No, I went out and bought a drift boat because I wanted to go fish there. You can't get a motorboat in there. It's canoe, kayak, or a drift boat.
Yeah. And
drift boats were kind of newer up here. And so I don't know. And from a fly fishing perspective, I knew what a drift boat was.
Sure.
So yeah, I can understand the work that goes into some of these remote areas and trying to get comfort back in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've dragged a drift boat around a few rocks before and usually come along to get one out of the river a couple 100 yards before. So yeah, I know a trailer, but you know, I'm on some of these drift boats I can move myself, given, you know, not very far and very fast, you know, but heaving and hauling, I can go 100 yards, of course, of 15 minutes, but you put any incline on that and it ain't happening. You know, it's a 250, 300 pound boat. So,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a hustle, man.
Yeah.
But so what is it outside of the fish that you enjoy, that kind of seeking those remote places? Like why do you go back? It just seems like home. Sure. You grew up north. I grew up there. The guy that started teaching me to musky fish, I was taught on these rivers. Sure. And then I broke out and started,
exploring more parts of the rivers and learning them. And the biggest thing is when you go on this river, you're incredibly remote. You'll never see, very rarely do you see another human being.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically you have it, you own it.
I know that's for me. That's my biggest thing.
And that
it's the remoteness and the serenity that comes with it.
That touch of nature.
Yeah.
You know, it's just going back to nature is the biggest thing for me.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've spent many nights up there, you know, in incredibly bad weather, hot weather, you know, we've slept through it all.
Yeah.
You know,
bug filled weather.
Yes.
You guys get a bad fly hatch up there in the summertime?
Yeah, we get a lot of deer flies up there.
Yeah.
There's some parts of the summer that you physically cannot go on that river because they literally put you in the funny farm.
Yeah.
I mean, they're that bad.
Oh yeah. They'll literally pick you up and carry you.
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
There's a few rivers like the Flambeau and Wisconsin River and things like that I always call ahead of time during that time of year.
Yeah.
Are they bad?
Yep. You gotta.
Don't bother. I'll wait another week.
Yeah, for sure.
Sometimes it's 2 or 3, but yeah, it seems like that kind of almost like end of June into July, around the 4th of July.
July is the worst.
Yeah. Is that when it's worse up by you?
Yep.
Okay.
July is the worst month of them all.
Yeah. It's a little earlier down by us.
Sure.
But
I always joke with people, they ask me, they say, well, where do you fish? I said, I fish this river. I give them the name. And I said, you want to go in July? That's the best month. They'll be on it for 10 minutes and they'll be gone.
Hey, I give you credit. At least you tell them the right river.
Well, you know, it's not like it's any big secret, but the big thing is I've got many years of experience on it.
Mm-hmm.
I know it very well, and I know when to go. I could tell just about anybody, you know, what river it is. Go fish it.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It took me many years to figure this stuff out. I
can say that
a ball.
I can say that about the St. Croix. I mean,
right.
You know, I spend a lot of time on that over the summer, and you know, you can go out there and be successful, but it's not every day.
No.
And, you know, most of it, if you don't know what you're doing, is by chance.
Exactly.
And there's good fishermen out there. Don't get me wrong. You can go out there and guarantee you're going to catch fish because it's a great river. There's a lot of fish in it, smallmouth, whatever. But yeah, muskies, they like to hang out in certain areas.
Exactly.
And you need to kind of know.
Well, you learn over the years.
When so much can change from a season too.
Correct. And you start learning that, and you start learning water depths.
Yep.
What you need for water depths, for weather. You start learning when to go.
Mm-hmm.
And when all the stars align, you better be on it.
Yep.
You get on it and fish, and you're going to be successful.
Did you do some fishing last summer, just in northern Minnesota on rivers last year?
Yeah, I did.
Did you guys notice a significant, you know, low flow rate because of the drought? Incredibly
bad.
Yeah. One question with that.
Go ahead.
So when I am a river fisherman and I'm going, okay, the rivers go low and they're low enough that they start eliminating potential people that are going to go out there, but they're still high enough I can get through and float. It's always been when I'm like, oh yeah, like this is going to kill. We're going to rock off.
Exactly. Yep.
This past year kicked me in the nuts. I don't understand what the hell happened. It was for me. I thought it was going to be the best damn year ever, and it was okay. It was just okay, and it should for me with water levels. It should have been that way. So I apologize to steal a little bit of thunder there. I was kind of curious.
You were saying just about exactly what I was going to say. Over the years, I would joke with people. They'd say, "Well, you know what do you like the river to be at?" And I said, "I want it dried right up."
Mm-hmm. Fish stack up. They got nowhere else to go. Right.
Well, last year I got my wish. And believe me, I could not fish the areas that I typically fish.
I know.
We were completely landlocked.
Yep. Well, I wasn't totally that bad, but
it was for us. I mean, completely landlocked.
Yeah,
You were
I
not
believe
going,
that though.
You were not going
You
upstream
guys
or
had it
downstream.
worse than we did.
Yeah,
down
it was
there.
bad.
We had a couple storms that brought just enough to kind of keep me going. I went from a 16-foot drift boat to, a 12-foot rubber raft so I could keep my season going.
Right.
Because, and I was looking at my chops every day going, holy, it's lower. Like, we can still get through here. Nobody else that can, because nobody else got a raft like this. Got a permit right now.
Right.
And it was every time we had an increase in water in the system. Day after it rained, and there was new oxygen in the river, and whatever spilled out of whatever backwaters could get spilled back in, it was just seemed to me that was like the magic ticket. That was when nothing else mattered. Like, it didn't matter the moon phase. It didn't matter. The fish were just going to eat.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. It was a strange year for me as a guide. It was very humbling, asking people to pay you and dealing with circumstances you've just never dealt with on the river before. Yeah. We did okay. So we'll see when they rebook this year.
Yeah. Well, they gotta, clients. I'm sure clients think about that stuff. It's out of your control.
It is.
You have no control of the weather or the water depth, or you just have no control of it.
There's one thing I do control. It's my attitude and hopefully the outcome of how much fun they have.
Correct. Yep.
For the experience I'm providing, regardless of the weather, the conditions, or anything else. Yep. That's the only thing I can control. So I hope they understand that. Most people do.
I think a lot of people do. Yeah. I've actually asked that exact question to a lot of the muskie guides. Mm-hmm. It's like, how do you feel at night when you go home? You never seen a fish all day long, and you charge this person X amount of dollars. And a lot of them, it didn't dawn on me until I talked to one particular guide, and he says, here's what I do. He says, even though I know it's going to be a bad day, I turn it into a teaching day.
Yep.
And because
you can control your attitude.
Correct. He says, he turns it into a teaching day, and when it's done, the next day he may get a message from that client, and the client says, dude, I had the best day of my life. It was incredible. You taught me a lot. Book me in for next year. And I said, well, okay, that does make sense.
Yeah. I look
turn it into a teaching moment.
Like I said, the only thing I can control is my attitude. So if we're not catching fish and my clients know I'm pissed because you're not catching fish, guess what? They're going to be pissed too.
Yep.
If I have a smile on my face and there's stuff to, like he does, learn, and that's kind of how I take every guide trip like that. For me, I've been privileged enough to be given enough experiences and created enough knowledge in life to be able to kind of pass that on and share it with people. And I'm communicative enough that I can explain it to people. Not everybody is that way. And so I just took my talents and kind of go, well, if I can pass this on and you come out today and you leave here, you can learn take what you've learned here today and apply it, and you can be successful on your own.
Right.
Then I've accomplished my mission.
Exactly. And people walk away from that going, you know what? It was worth it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're paying you. I look at it as a guide. They're paying you for two reasons: for the experience and for the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what else?
Fish are a bonus.
They don't have either of the equipment. Maybe maybe that's the missing link, or they don't know how to use the equipment they have, and that's why they hire guides. And so you have to fill that gap. If you're not in tune with that, you're not going to be successful.
Right, for sure.
It's hard to make lemonade when you don't have lemons, and sometimes the day just offers up no lemons.
Exactly.
Especially in musky fishing.
Oh yeah, it can be.
That's why I have smallmouth listed next to it. Yeah, those smallmouth always seem to help me out.
Yeah, you can always fall back on the smallmouth,
especially on the St. Croix. But where do you? I don't know. We've talked about a lot here. We've been going an hour. I guess I should ask you if you have anything that I either cut you off on or that we didn't kind of.
No, I think we pretty much covered everything. I I mean, I guess I explained the story pretty well.
Yeah.
I don't have anything really to add into that.
Well, how about this? You guys are heading out. When's the Wausau show?
Next weekend.
Yeah, this probably isn't going to make it out before then. I'm usually like 2 weeks ahead of time.
Sure.
Recording.
That's fine.
So,
No big deal.
I was going to say otherwise, if they're in Wausau or near Wausau, come out and check you guys out next weekend. But after that, is the show season kind of over for you then?
Yeah, yes, it's starting to wind down. Wausau wasn't the last one. We were supposed to go to New York.
Oh, really? That's it.
Yeah, and I've been struggling with that for over a month now with everything going on in the world. I'm watching gas prices skyrocket.
I was going to go to Pheasant Fest this next weekend in Omaha, and I'm not. I can't afford to do it.
I'm pulling a trailer with a pickup.
Yep. At
best, I'm going to get 9 miles to the gallon. So I called the guy up that runs the New York show, and I said, "Look, I got to back out."
You can't be the only guy calling at this point.
Well, not too many. There's only a handful of people that travel from like Minnesota and Wisconsin to New York. All the rest of the vendors are out from that way.
Okay.
So they're going to drive anyway.
Yeah.
Well, you start looking at it. If you're $1,000, $1,500 just in gas.
Oh yeah. You're
pulling a trailer.
$5,000 to attend the show.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to sell everything you got in inventory.
Exactly. Just to turn a profit. Right. Yeah. So I backed out of the New York show, and that exact weekend, Thorn Brothers puts on a spring sale.
Okay.
Well, they invited me to go to that. So I'm going to go set up a booth in Thorn Brothers and sell the beavers directly through Thorn Brothers. And
cool.
Yeah. They're one of my dealers. So,
we're outside of contacting you guys direct, and I guess too, you offer these things in a variety of colors.
A lot of colors, yeah. Probably too many.
That's where I was going to go. Are they is it enough that you could technically say semi-customizable?
They are. If you go on our website, beaversbaits.com, jump on the website, we have a custom tab on there that you can click on. And what we do is we ask you to reach out to us. If you order a custom, there's an upcharge on a custom.
Sure.
But once you order it, you have to reach out to us. Get a hold of me. We need to discuss what you're after.
Yeah.
I can't build what I don't know what you want.
Yeah. Well,
so reach out to me and I'll try and mimic, if you can send me a photo of a bait or anything.
Fly anglers might appreciate this, but I don't know that people that are fishing in the conventional realm will get this as much, but hopefully it'll draw a little bit of light on what we're exactly talking about.
Right. But yeah, I'll try and build anything
bucktail, you've got flashabou, you've got synthetic fibers, and you've got all of that in color variations. So the listener might go, oh, well, this is what I want, and put it through your website, but he might not understand what you exactly can do for him. It's kind
right. That's why they want to reach out to me.
Yeah. You might be able to do more than what exactly they perceive on the website.
Correct. We got a lot of colors on the website. If you don't want any of them colors, just basically reach out to me and we'll talk about what you're after.
What is your top selling color? Can you share that?
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
I would assume you want somebody buying, a little bit more of a pared down product, and people want to buy something that, people are using and catching fish on.
Right. So. For the dealers, a dealer color, I would say solid black.
Yeah.
And then we do one that I created a walleye color.
Okay.
And for lack of a better name, we just call it BB walleye.
Okay.
Beaver's Baits walleye, or whatever. That one sells incredibly well. We sell a lot of them, and it's a pretty good walleye pattern.
You got something that is close to like a sucker pattern?
Yeah, Ted developed one. We call it TB Sucker. His name is Ted Beck.
Yeah.
So we just call it TB Sucker. That one's a really good color.
Yeah.
We sell a bunch of them too. But yeah, it's just, you can't really narrow it down to just one color.
I've always been a firm believer that muskie choose you. Really. I mean, they choose you. You can throw this bait over them 100 times and it's going to be that 101 time that they eat, and that's on their own terms.
Exactly.
You know, I think a lot of the colors in themselves are more driven for us fishermen.
Yes, I'll agree with you on that. When it comes to this bait, I've kind of proven it to myself that I don't know if it's the action of the bait or the noise of the bait, that this bait is really loud underwater.
Yeah.
Because of these, you have 3 pieces.
It pushes a lot of water.
That are, well, it isn't just that. It's jointed twice. So there's 3 pieces, 3 plastic pieces that are clacking.
Oh, so they click together. Yeah.
They click together when you're running the bait. But the clicking noise is so, it isn't the same, you know, like a rattle trap, you know, that brrr, going through the water.
I would imagine it's not, because
it'll click and then it'll be nothing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it'll click again and be nothing. So like every 2 or 3 pull, it clicks and then it doesn't.
Which is enough to just give just that, well, in a river, that
or
reaction.
A lake or whatever. Yeah.
I'm using it because I personally know the river as well. And
right.
It's,
but getting back to our color, we kind of got off.
Yeah, I was just saying,
there,
but the clicking, you know, it real quickly, that in itself, you know, triggers a reaction. And
well, if you're in dirty water, they're feeling that.
Yep.
You know, they're hearing that.
But the colors,
the colors, I kind of found out using this bait for as many years as I have, it really wasn't dependent on the color. It's the bait itself that the fish was after. I've thrown really bright colors where I would normally be throwing, you know, I'm a kind of a natural freak.
Yeah.
And I actually got challenged last summer. I wasn't allowed to throw anything natural. So I had to throw everything gaudy, bright, super bright, and I stuck a lot of fish. So that kind of made me think, you know what?
You think that fish are seeing it more of a silhouette?
That and just the action of the fish, of the bait itself.
Yeah.
Just the action.
It's just the color doesn't matter.
I'm kind of a firm believer now that color really doesn't matter.
I mean,
it does. Don't get me wrong when I say that.
It's not a differentiating factor. It's a adding things to the win column kind of wagering. It adds a little bit more to, I kind of look at it as in the deer stand, there's certain things you can do to improve your odds.
Right.
And this is kind of one of those things you could do to improve maybe your odds a little bit. But at the end of the day, getting the bait in the water and making casts and running that bait is what's going to catch the fish.
Yep. I'm asked all the time, no matter what show we go to, whether it's in Wisconsin, Illinois, Minnesota, it doesn't matter. I get a lot of Wisconsin people that ask me, they come up and they say, well, I fish so-and-so such lake and it's stained, it's dirty. What color should I be using? And over the years, I've thought about that question. It's like, you know what? I'm going to throw it back in your face. When you reach in a tackle box, what are your favorite colors in that tackle box? Oh, yeah. Well, buy one of these that match your colors.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And
I don't understand them folks from Wisconsin. They should be going with black and orange.
But the color, I'm kind of a firm believer, if you're confident in that color, that confidence travels right up that rod, right down that line, right to that bait.
I think that's for any lure, bait.
Anything you throw.
Yep.
It doesn't
100%.
matter. It's the confidence.
It is.
And if your confidence in solid black, well, to you, solid black's the best color.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because you put it on and you catch a fish with it. You're confident in it.
Yep. I've tied size 22 flies, you know, and just for instance, we're getting into the trout bug hatch season, and, you know, 24 blue wing olive or 22 or an 18. they're so damn small that I personally can't even tell the color anymore.
Right.
And the fish is seeing this thing on top of the water, looking upwards, so it's only really seeing a silhouette.
Black silhouette.
Now, I will tell you, trout do somehow. I mean, there are certain days where they won't touch certain colors, and it's amazing that's like that. But then there's other days where a guy will come out and you tie a freaking purple fly, and there's no purple bug that's coming out of that damn stream. So what is that, you know? And
exactly.
And I think it comes down to the confidence level and things.
We've all seen it. You know, you've been next to the guy walleye fishing, and he's got a green jig on, and he's spanking fish, and you're not.
Well, what's the difference?
You know, you put a green jig on, and you start catching walleye.
What's the difference between you, who was fishing one bait all day long, and then the guy that's not confident and digging in his tackle box in every 5 minutes?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, you got your bait in the water all damn day.
Right.
That's the difference.
Yep.
And it really does show. I've got a couple buddies. We do a summer smallmouth. And we target a little bit of muskies, but it's mostly for smallmouth trip.
Sure.
And we have one buddy who he's got to change the bait every 5 minutes.
I've been around people like that.
Well, I finally parked the boat because I've been rolling, all day. Because these are my buddies. I don't have to catch fish anymore to be happy. Like I like watching people catch fish and taking a little bit of instruction and changing things. I parked it, and they were using plastics or something. I can't remember. And I got my fly rod out, and I actually grabbed a tarpon fly, but it's perfect, size. Looks like a small sucker, maybe perch kind of color, natural color. And there was a log pile up there, and I seen a couple smallmouth down there. So I stripped in this thing, and I caught 11 smallmouth out of this log pile. Those guys couldn't catch anything. And,
wow.
and it's just, certain instances like that, it was just, but the one guy spent his whole entire time changing baits. And I'm just going strip, smallmouth, strip, smallmouth. I think he went through 5 or 6 different baits. And here, I've caught 11 fish. He hadn't got anything. And he spent an eighth of the time in the water I did.
Right. We've all been guilty of it. Even musky fishing, we're guilty of it.
Yep.
It's you throw a bait 8-10 times. I'm gonna try something.
You just
else.
Don't feel it.
Yeah, you don't feel it. Yep.
Yeah, I've been there 100 times.
Yep.
So I hate when I feel that way for my clients, though. That's a tough one.
Right.
And then you put on something you feel confident with, and you spend half the day, and that's a tough one to sleep at night.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. It's as a new guide is trying to trudge into that water. It's always, and it's not so much of a I'm losing sleep because I'm horrified that I took the guy's money. It's losing sleep so I don't repeat any mistakes I might have made that day that may have caused for that, so it's kind of just slicing and dicing and analyzing what you did and what could I have done different.
Sure.
And that's what freaking keeps me up at night, man.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you got anything else here, or otherwise we can kind of wrap things up. I'm very appreciative to opening up the place here and inviting me up. And
it was great talking to you.
Yeah.
No, I really don't. We pretty much covered everything.
Where can people find you? Follow you along on Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook,
website.
The website. We got a lot of videos on the website you can go watch.
You got a YouTube channel?
Yes, we do have a YouTube channel. There's a bunch of videos on there. It's not really big. We're not really pushing the whole YouTube thing right now, but
sure,
we got a few on there.
But yeah, I mean, you put your videos up there,
right? Yeah,
same stuff you have on the website
loaded up there. There might be some pretty good underwater footage and stuff that a guy can look at. If your fly guys are interested in seeing this bait under the water, they
Oh yeah, well we've got worldwide listenership, so it's not just fly guys, and honestly, I'm more interested to see what the conventional guys think of this that haven't seen it before.
Right.
Because I think, because again, for me, it's just that I'm so used to a fly that I can personally draw some distinctions between it and what I've done with the fly. But yeah, I think this offers what most of the fly guys are trying to seek with their fly. Sure. To a conventional fisherman, just from the action and how the bait works. I think it's freaking great. I can't wait to.
They're fun to fish. They're really, once they hit the water, they're almost effortless to run.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't wear you out, for one thing. And, you know, if you can't cast the larger one, well, scale down to the next size one down, and, you know, you can throw it all day long. You're not going to get beat up or tired.
Those babies would work really well for clients that aren't, you know, big musky fishers.
A lot of my guides that throw them, they love them because if they get a woman client, the woman can throw them all day long.
Yeah.
You know, they're not throwing these heavy baits and getting wore out.
The challenge I had one day, I had a lady and her nephew come out, and, you know, she was older, but I mean, hell, I got guys my age that I give this gear to, and by the end of the day, they're wore out.
Yeah. They're not used to it. Yeah.
You know, how do you find something that works well with her ability and keeping her in a good state? Because you get them wore out, all of a sudden a fish hits and she's not sticking it.
Right.
You know, I mean, it happens.
Yep.
So anyways, man, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and good luck this season.
Yeah.
Hopefully we do. You can get out and stick a few big ones.
Yeah, if I can get out of the shop.
Yeah.
It kind of keeps me tied down, but I'll get out there. I'll get some new footage this year.
Sounds good. Well, I'll definitely send you some, hopefully, of me catching a few.
Yeah,
hopefully be able to use it.
That'd be great. Yeah, we'd love to use it.
All right, Brian. Well, again, thank you so much, and I appreciate being part of the show.
All right, thank you.
Well, folks, we've been doing this for 50 shows. Thank you so much for supporting me and this podcast. Quick reminder to join your local conservation group. I will be out at the Double Gun, Spring Fling, Pine City, with the Minnesota Sharptail Grouse Society on April 30th. You should come out. Patreon.com/Amaazen Outdoors. $5 for the month gets you a hat plus a drawing entry into June's giveaway for a pair of Uplnd Outfitter pants. You don't want to miss this. God bless you. God bless America. Get out there. Shoot straight. It is turkey season. Don't miss. Sharpen those musky hooks, because before you know it, we'll all be hooking big baits and flies. This is Bryan Mays. I am signing out of here. Have a wonderful day, folks. We'll catch you on the next episode.